There was a new study suggesting there is no link between toxins at Ground Zero and cancer. Those findings now clashing with a New York City Fire Department study that shows first responders at the site are suffering an increased rate of cancer. Fox News Health Medical A-Teamer Dr. David Samadi, Chief of Division of Robotics at Mount Sinai Hospital. Nice to see you, Doctor.
Same here, thanks.
Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Let's take the latest study said what?
Well, this recent study basically said that there's really no increase in the risk of cancer or death among the firefighters. They looked at about 42,000 samples, which is a big sample, of the potential people that were at risk. And you have to be very careful about that word potential, because the question is whether if you're right in the center of that trade center, World Trade Center, as opposed to someone who's 3-4 miles away, are they really at the same risk? And if they included a lot of people in that sample, you can have some dilution and wrong responses.
Okay, so there's no connection based on this study.
What
right?
I would say is right now, today, we cannot make any conclusion from these studies, because we're getting like mixed, you look at the study from the New York Fire Department, they see about 19% increase in the risk of cancer, and with these guys, it's really not. But the trend is about to take off, so we have to be more patient. And when you deal with cancer, Bill, that's a very, funny business, because it takes time for it to develop. 5 to 10 years is not long enough to be able to get all of our answers. You may see like a totally different interview 5 years from now. So we just have to be a little more patient.
When you say the trend is about to take off, that means...
What they did was, in one of the studies, they looked at 9,000 firefighters, and they saw a small increase in the risk of lung cancer in those. Not statistically significant. So for the sake of study, you can't make any conclusion, but there is a trend in the increase of some of the cancers among these patients. So you have to wait a little longer, and 10 years is not long enough to certainly make any comment about death rate.
But even that trend that you're describing to us, is that definitive now?
It's not. All we can say is that there's a small, slight trend toward increase in cancer. Nobody will debate that there's increased risk of asthma, there's like reflux, acid reflux, 28% asthma. None of those will debate. But when it comes to cancer, we just need to a little longer period to make a final conclusion.
All right. Now, when you talk about these studies, and any medical expert does, they talk about the size of the sample, and you referred to that. How big was this sample? Was it sufficient in your view?
Well, in the New York Fire Department, they looked at 928. Those were firefighters that were in the core area. When they look at this study, they had 42,000 people looking at a larger sample of people. And I'm a little concerned that there could be some dilution or some error in this study. So we have to be very careful and look at this a little more.
What does this do then to the arguments on behalf of firefighters who were looking for compensation or something to help them along with their medical condition, that they will argue till they go to their grave that they did not have that prior to the attacks 10 years ago?
I think it's a difficult situation for them, because these are the guys that really risked their lives, and they were right there helping out other people. No one will debate you that because of all these dust and toxins in the World Trade Center, or look at what's happening in Japan, we're not going to see any kind of cancer as a result of that radiation that happened in Japan this year or next year. But if you wait another 5 to 10 years plus, you're going to see all the multiple myelomas, leukemias, etc. So unfortunately, our heart goes to them for what they did, and they're in a very tough situation. But today, with these studies, I, as a cancer surgeon, cannot tell you for sure whether there is any conclusion from these studies that came out.
Why do all these studies contradict each other?
I think
can you reach a finding based on anything you're looking for?
I think what we need is a real independent group of people that would come and look at this. And really, because you can take the same data and interpret it in 2 different ways and come up with 2 different conclusions. But they found some trend in the increase of this cancer. It's just not statistically significant. And that's what we're trying to say here, is that if you look at like these people that were in the core of that, were exposed highly compared to other people, you may see a much higher increase.
Doctor, thank you for coming in today.
Thanks, Bill.
Dr. David Samadi, part of our Fox News Medical A-Team. Go to foxnews.com/America's Newsroom. There's a BYA box. You can leave a question for the doctor or anybody on our medical A-Team.
Sure.
Or shoot me an email at hemmer@foxnews.com. Also on Twitter @BillHemmer. We call it Because You Asked, BYA.